Section86.com. We're changing the world of podcasting one show at a time.
86 Productions.
Take what you wanna take. Don't leave me here. Lasting leap years ever. Your fear of the one and only love.
Hello and welcome to the special edition of Off the Mark, the best podcast providing the most in-depth insight and analysis into the world of professional wrestling. On today's show, we have Aaron, Roger, and Doug to join Andrew as we discuss the 2019 Royal Rumble. So let's start off with the pre-show matches. We had Nakamura taking on Rusev. I got to see a majority of this match, but I didn't know what your thoughts were on that, Aaron.
Yeah, I was really shocked to see Nakamura get the title back. It was actually funny when we had recorded our pre-show. I was confused. I thought Nakamura had the title, and I picked him originally. I was like, wait, no, Rusev has the title. Sorry, I'm going to pick Rusev. I should have stayed with my original pick. You know, for what I had seen of it, it was a fine match. Nakamura, I think that he does deserve better. Maybe they're trying to do something with this feud. They're trying to make it a little more exciting by adding Lana to the mix. But we'll see. I don't know if this really has a whole lot of legs. I don't know who else they could throw into the mix or if they could just move them on to something else. I guess we're going to find out, though, on Tuesday.
Some of the things that I was reading about was that they wanted Rey Mysterio in the mix for the U.S. title come WrestleMania. So this kind of makes a little bit more sense, although I still think he could have done Rusev, Rey, and been just fine on that. So looking forward to seeing what they do in the future. I do like the long story planning of the match, though. We'll see what happens, but good pre-show match.
Yeah, I thought the match was fine. Nakamura and Rusev were both talented. I wish I cared a little bit more about this match going in, but it wasn't bad. Really, the story of the match is what happens at the end with Lana getting knocked off the apron and rolling her ankle, and as we'll talk about later, that comes into play in a pretty big way.
And the next match that happened was the 205 Live match. It was of course Murphy, Tozawa, Kalisto, and Itami going at it. I'll just flat out say I actually went to go get food, so I missed almost all of this match. So, Doug, what did you think about the match?
I too was in line getting food, waiting for it. That's right, but I was able to watch it off the big screen for the most part, and I mean, it looked like it had a lot of good spots, a lot of good false finishes. You thought Tommy, I think, was going to win for a little bit, and then Blake Murphy turns it around and actually pinned Tommy. I thought that was pretty neat. But good 205 match again. Nice little warm up match for a pre-show.
3 out of the 4 men looked really good in this match. Kalisto, Tozawa, and Murphy looked fantastic. May Hideo Itami rest in peace with the memories because he looks washed up. Like, I'm just going to quite say it. He didn't look like he was fluid. It looked like he missed 3 or 4 spots. I mean, just really out of position. He doesn't look crisp. I mean, he's not motivated. He just doesn't look like the same Kenta who was tearing it up 10 years ago. And, part of it's age, part of it's injuries, but ready for him to move on.
Yeah, I agree with Roger and Doug. The one thing I would say is during that match, you could tell, even though Hideo looked a little washed up, it looked like they were trying to showcase him quite a bit. And if there were 2 people that were going to win, it was either going to be Hideo or Murphy. And obviously, as Doug had pointed out, Murphy was one that ended up retaining.
I was happy with the outcome. I just didn't see how you'd want to change the title on a pre-show, but that's a different story. But next we had to open up the Royal Rumble, we had Becky Lynch take on Asuka, and I mean we all picked Asuka because we thought this is the way it's going to happen. The match itself, I was very impressed with it. I thought they did a great job feeding off each other. So kudos to them. They did tear it up. Doug, what did you think about the match?
It was a good match. Way to open up a pay-per-view. Great way to get the crowd into it. Crowd was really, really behind Becky. You saw how it was going and everything like that. I thought it was a little interesting just to see Becky tap out. I wasn't expecting that necessarily. I know Asuka's big finisher is her submission, but I was kind of expecting this to be, either her passing out and not being able to continue or a count out. I think there was at one point they both took a pretty hard bump to the outside, and it's like, wow, this really could be it. This could be where she doesn't lose, but she also doesn't win. and loses her chance at a WrestleMania shot. But overall, great match. Way to open up the pay-per-view.
Yeah, the tap out was the biggest surprise to me. And I would say the thing that they have done well with Becky is they haven't just made her this dominant figure. They haven't, they knew that the fans were behind her. And as opposed to be like, okay, well, let's just let her run through everybody. Instead, they've let her be vulnerable. They've let her lose. She has lost matches. She lost TLC. She lost the rematch to Asuka, and she tapped out. And so that really, in the fans' eyes, it's like, oh, this is somebody who is good and is going to win some of the time, but there are times where if she gets put in a bad spot, she's going to lose. And the fans still respected Becky after that, and they still respected Asuka. And I think that this was one of the best matches that you could have put in this spot. And so kudos to WWE, because I felt like the Royal Rumble, the pacing was really well, and having this be the first like match of the real show was a good stroke.
Yeah, I think it's a fantastic choice for an opener. Like when you've got Becky and Asuka, you're going to get the crowd involved. It's a good way to get everybody excited. What I liked about this match is that sometimes you'll get one person who looks weak, as opposed to that's just made Asuka look really strong. She didn't tap her out quickly. She didn't tap her out easily. She resorted to a cattle mutilation, something you really don't see her use. I don't think I've ever seen her use it before. And Becky wisely tapped because she had nowhere to go. I'm fine with it. Great result. Great match. Well done.
Did you feel the same way about the bar with Shane McMahon and Miz?
No, but I didn't like that match coming in the first place. I'm tired of Shane McMahon getting title shots and being in high-profile matches. I mean, he has, like, cool spots. But other than that, he sucks. Like, and I say this as a guy who likes Shane's music and his entrance. His coast to coast is cool. His shooting star was cool. His elbow through the table is cool. Other than that, his moves suck. Like, he does dumb-looking punches. He really has no business being in the ring. And why does the bar keep losing to terrible teams? What is the point of being the tag team champions if you can't beat a 10-year-old or you can't beat a retired 50-year-old wrestler? It is just dumb on principle. And the opposite of what Asuka and Becky, where everybody looks strong, this just made the tag division look weak. Why did The Miz and Shane McMahon beat the team that's beating everybody else? Your tag division on SmackDown just got buried for no good reason.
Yeah, I do agree with that. I thought that there are so many other ways they could have done with this, and I think that the bar would have been over even more if they would have actually just pinned them or like just kick the crap out of them. Or I think that if Miz turned so he's a full heel and like went to the back and Shane had to basically be there by himself, and I thought that would be interesting, but but at least we got to see the swing 20 sometimes. But Doug, you picked the bar as well, and Roger did as well, and myself. Only one who didn't was Aaron. But did you still think that was that the bar should have won this? There's no reason why the Miz and McMahon should have won it.
This match really showcases the difference between Raw and SmackDown in the fact that Raw is a show. It is entertainment. It is a soap opera of what it is. And SmackDown is sports entertainment or wrestling for a purist or somebody who loves the athleticism and everything like that. We saw the sportsmanship and everything in the first match with Becky and Asuka. This is now the show. This is the put on. Let's do this because this is going to be something showy. And we did get to see something I thought was pretty cool, was the shooting star press by Shane McMahon, especially to end the match, which I didn't know what he was going to do when he got up there, and was very, very surprised. But that's what this is. This is all about the drama. This is going to be the, where the best tag team in the world, that was given up at what was that again, Roger? Crown Jewel. Remember that pay-per-view? No. Where the greatest World Cup champion, The Miz, got that team there, and Shane McMahon finished the job.
Mm-hmm.
For the record, I'm now considering that pay-per-view on the same level as He Who Shall Not Be Named, and we will never speak of this again.
But, I mean, that's what it was. This was a show. This was to, where you might consider like the, I guess, adults or the true fans, and I won't say true fans, but the diehard fans. They're going to like the SmackDown. They're going to like the wrestling. But you need to make this a worldwide brand, and you're going to have matches like this. And they serve that purpose. But I'm not necessarily a big fan of that.
Yeah, and I echo you guys' thoughts. The only reason I picked Miz and McMahon was I just kind of felt like this is the route that they're going to go. They're going to bury the tag division, and they don't care about Sheamus. They don't care about Cesaro. This is a way of them to get the titles and hold it for however long. The problem is the only way that you can have the only team right now that's credible on SmackDown to challenge them would be Sheamus and Cesaro. You know, your New Day's not going to go after the title, right? They're not going to. Sanity, maybe, but probably not. They don't really have a stake in this. So you're going to extend this feud for a while. And I think that's unnecessary. They had said, we're getting rid of automatic rematch clauses. So unless that they win a number one contenders match, we're going to see them wrestle again at Elimination Chamber or Fastlane or both. And then there's going to be a culmination at WrestleMania. It was unnecessary. And like Roger said, it's kind of a burial of the tag division.
Do you retire the SmackDown tag team titles now because the world's greatest wrestling team won?
Yeah, there's no one else that can beat them. So I think that you should retire
Yeah, you should just retire them and have just tag team on Raw.
Yeah, exactly. I think that's a good idea.
Just put women's wrestling on SmackDown.
Yeah, I'd be okay with that. Speaking of that, Ronda Rousey took on Sasha Banks next, and this match, I thought it was good, and I thought that some of the things that Sasha did in the match, where there was a part of her outfit that was ripped, and she put it in Ronda's mouth, which I thought was hilarious. But it showed a lot of that they are competitors. They're being nice to each other. But I did like the fact when they each threw up the 4. I mean, that's we know something's going to happen here, and they're going to have to do it by WrestleMania. So I'm interested to see what happens to that. But overall, the match itself was very entertaining. It was well paced, and there were points where you're like, oh crap, there is a chance Sasha is going to win. But of course, Ronda came out on top. Doug, what did you think about how the match, everything from start to finish?
I thought this was a overall good match. I never thought that Ronda was not going to win. I always thought Ronda was going to win. I do credit Sasha with putting up a hell of a match. The back and forth going was good. The storyline aspect was good. There was a couple spots, or I was going to say there's probably about a handful of spots that a little slip up here, a little slip up there. But overall, you got two great competitors going at it and put on a show.
Yeah, and I echo Doug's thoughts. There were a few times in that match where it looked like Sasha was going to win. And when the moves that they put her in, and to see the anguish that was on Ronda's face, she can sell incredibly well. I mean, she's used to being beat up in the ring, in UFC. So she's very familiar of what the actual face looks like. And so what she was able to do was get the audience into it and thinking, oh, this could be it. Maybe she loses to Sasha. And even though we all picked Ronda because we figured that was the smart bet, there was a very small chance. And I think that makes for a really good match.
I mean, the outcome was never in doubt. This was the female version of a Brock Lesnar match before WrestleMania. You could bet the farm on Ronda. Ronda was winning. I thought what was more interesting was I thought both women would get cheered similar to Asuka and Becky. Maybe one would get cheered harder, but it would be face versus face. Ronda was getting booed. Not necessarily by everyone. This wasn't Roman Reigns by any means, but this became more about like people maybe don't like Ronda as much, or maybe they like Sasha more. I'm not really sure. I couldn't tell you from that reaction, but there was a lot of boos. And also, there were a lot of cheers when Sasha nearly won the match. And credit to them for making it convincing, even though it was blatantly obvious that Ronda was going to win. They made you believe that Sasha could win in maybe 2 or 3 occasions, and job well done. I like the match. It was good.
Yeah, I thought it was a good place to put it as well. And because right after that, they did the Women's Royal Rumble. That was actually, since I've never seen a Royal Rumble, I was very happy the way the outcome of it. And also, I didn't realize how long, once you get to the final person, it can be 5-10 minutes before it's over with, because you're like, oh crap, it's going to be over. No, it's not. It's going to continue for a while. I was very that match was just great. Just seeing that was the first Royal Rumble I saw, and it was a women's one. Very happy. Natty lasted like 50 minutes, and she was number 2. I thought the pacing was really well. I don't think there was really. I mean, there were some surprises with NXT not call-ups, but just NXT people coming in. That was really interesting to see. I just wish Tony Storm could have been in, but whatever. But overall, the Women's Royal Rumble was really, really good. So Roger, what did you think about how it worked out? Did you think, you've seen other Royal Rumbles? Did you think that this one was had your attention the entire time?
So I thought that it started kind of bland. I just didn't like maybe the first 15 competitors for the most part. I think Ember Moon was in there and she was fine, but starting with Lacey Evans was a very odd choice. I know Mandy Rose came out at 3. I'm trying to remember who 2 was. was too natty. Yeah, I mean, it just wasn't memorable, right? It picked up about when Charlotte Flair got there. That's when things were like, okay, now we have a real contender. Charlotte comes out, Bayley comes out. You've got people, Nia Jax, who you're like, all of these people could theoretically win the Rumble. Now, where it gets interesting is that earlier in the night, Lana rolled her ankle. She comes out, I want to say 27, 28, comes out, limping down. People start to realize what's going on. She's not going to make it to the Rumble. 29 and 30 enter. Obviously, 29 was Nia, I want to say. 30 being Carmella. And then you hear the crowd roar. And, of course, Becky Lynch walks down. She has a fantastic little back and forth with Finlay, which they have some history. I know she was trained by him for a long time in NXT. He lets her into the Rumble, and the place just absolutely explodes. Unlike anything else really for the entire night, in my opinion, Becky got by far the loudest pop. Really good sequence, really fun back and forth. I thought Nia did a really good job of playing off the fact that she broke Becky's face. I thought Charlotte was classic Flair in this match. I mean, the way that she just targeted Becky's knee was vicious, mean. It was heel-like. It was perfect. And then Becky got the job done. I mean, this was the highlight of the night for me. That'll come into play in our next match that we talk about because I think there was a mistake on that. But this was a high point for the crowd. You really saw the emotion, the energy in Chase Field. People exploded when Becky won, and there was a genuine joy.
Yeah, I 100% agree with you, Roger. And one of the things, too, I feel is I was taking a look, and there were 6 women from NXT that were in this match. And you think about last year, about how many Hall of Famers or how many legend, women were in that match. And I felt like this could have had a couple of those. Really, the closest one was Maria, I would say, was the closest, legendary woman that's in the match. And you didn't have really any other ones. And I think that was kind of a mistake because I think you could have had a couple of them. Because like Roger said, the pacing of the women coming out wasn't that good. And when we're talking about the men's a little later, I felt the pacing of that was a lot better because they had people come out in certain spots that made the crowd pop or make the crowd go, oh, good. This person's here to do a certain thing in the match. And that worked out really, really well. So that, I think, was my only drawback to it. Like Roger said, Becky, her coming out was just, the crowd erupted. And there were so many Becky chants. And to see what was going on at the end of the match and for Becky to finally win, people went nuts. People went crazy. We kind of expected it. But the fact that it happened, it's still like it was a moment that I was really happy to be part of.
Obviously, biggest pop to Becky. A couple things we all noted in the match itself was very, very interesting. Out of the first 4, all really blonde white women. The next 4, non-blonde women. And then another kind of sequence thing is the fact that there was only ever one Asian at a time in this match. Literally, as soon as one went out of the ring and eliminated, the next one showed up. I mean, I don't know who was booking the Women's Royal Rumble match. I'm not going to say that they did a bad job, but there were some things that were really kind of obvious. I think the spot with Selena Vega going underneath the ring was pretty funny. To have Hornswoggle come out from being underneath there and chase her. That was pretty funny. Good show, good storytelling aspect kind of thing, and kind of give everybody a little bit of a laugh in a kind of, like I said, it's a very, very long match. To give everybody that little bit of a break, but then to have Becky come out at the end was, you say 28, but she's technically 31. Yes, I mean, yes, there is, but Lana did make it halfway. She just couldn't continue. Did she get Yeah, and I came down and also hit her too, but I like that though in the aspect that they had a pre-show thing, something that I know that they was we were talking about why Nakamura would win. Why Nakamura would win? Maybe that's to draw more people to watch the pre-show, and they had a storyline that came back from the pre-show. So I think they're just trying to draw people to watch everything, which is fine. And everything worked out, and I overall enjoyed the women's Royal Rumble match.
Yeah, and it like we have all said, I mean, it was just great. There was, we can nitpick certain things, but yeah, the Vega thing was it's awesome with Hornswoggle. Okay, I'm just a little mad that R-Truth didn't come out at number 30, but
Also, let's give a shout out to the awesome callback of Selena versus Candice. That was really fun to relive that rivalry from last year, where Johnny and Almas were going at it. So it was a great NXT callback.
Yeah. Next, we had AJ Styles take on Dan O'Brien for the WWE title. This match, I missed. I got to see most of it, but I thought it was weird when Rowan came out. Like, I didn't understand. Like, I want to know that. Like, do you guys remember the history with Rowan and Dan O'Brien or AJ Styles?
Well, they were all in. Daniel Bryan was a part of the Wyatt family.
Oh,
And so I can only imagine that him and Rowan are gonna, or Rowan will be his bodyguard, his big man, his new family member, returning family member, or because he came out kind of like a, I guess, backwoods kind of character, and maybe he's gonna come out and be that big guy that agrees with Daniel Bryan and keeps going on with everything that he is. Honestly, I didn't like it. I wanted to see Daniel Bryan versus AJ Styles. I wanted to see a good match. I wanted to see it. I don't want to see it continue. I want to see an ending. We all picked Daniel Bryan, I think, and everybody assumed Daniel Bryan was going to win. He got the win via help from Rowan. Okay. But I know at one point in this match I was kind of thinking about NXT versus WWE, and I was like, this is the match that's gonna say, come on, WWE, put something up that's gonna match an NXT match. And I think with the Rowan coming out, you kill all credibility.
This is definitely a WWE match, and those two are capable of some amazing matches. We've seen what AJ Styles can do. We've seen what Daniel Bryan can do. This is, I think, their fourth match in about a month and a half or so, which is 2 months, because it was November, because they had two matches in November, a match in December, and then of course in January. And I don't want to be a broken record, so I'm not going to go into a diatribe about it, but I don't like seeing too many matches in a row. And, seeing this, it was like, okay, this is, it's pretty good. It's pretty decent. They had a good chain wrestling to begin with. There were some really cool spots that they had in the match. Overall, it was serviceable. It did what they needed to do. Eric Rowan's probably going to be an Eco Warrior, I'm guessing. That's probably going to be his title.
Planeteer.
That's right. Is he going to be fire? Do you want to say? He's going to be Earth. Okay, he'll be Earth. We already have water, so with Walter. So all we need now is Luke Harper to come.
Lee's the heart.
So, but yeah, no. Overall, serviceable. It did what it needed to do. I hope that they have something really good planned for AJ Styles. They really need to move him away from this, and they need to move him on to something else and move Daniel Bryan on to something else too.
I would say this, if I had to describe this in one word, I would say underwhelming. And I would say this was the biggest disappointment of the weekend. This match should have been phenomenal. And this should have been everything. This could have been not maybe as good as Ricochet Gargano, but it could have been pretty close considering the talent between these two. I didn't enjoy this match. I was bored. Part of it was poor pacing. If you knew Becky was going to win and you know how over she is, you don't put Daniel AJ after that Rumble. That's where that terrible tag match should have been. Because it doesn't matter. I don't care if the crowd's into that. That's a Bianca Shayna where you're cooling down before the next big match. This match had a bad pacing. It was boring. It's like Aaron said. It's the fourth one in 2.5 months. It's too many. If you're going to do something different. Add a cage stipulation. Add 2 out of 3 falls. Add submission. Something to add in the mix. And then why is Eric Rowan involved? He is a mid-card jobber at best. He's boring. He adds nothing to this feud. It was stupid. Let's be done with this. They're probably going to do one more match. But this was a disappointment. I just didn't like this. This was everything I dislike about WWE. Two talented wrestlers, very similar to AJ Nakamura, very similar even to AJ Joe, where it was just over and over and over. Meh, this should have been great. And this was disappointing.
And just a pro tip to tell everyone, if you need to go get something to drink, such as water, make sure you get it early and not waste your time walking around the entire place trying to find water, because they sold out of water, of all the things. And also Daniel Bryan's burger. Oh, I'm sorry, not his burger, but yeah, which is sad.
That was sold out pre-show.
Yeah, that was that sucked. But I everything you guys have said about the match, yeah, I echo your thoughts. The next one, Brock Lesnar versus Finn Balor for the Universal title. I don't even think anyone. There was 99.9999% chance that Brock Lesnar was going to win, and
I had 100% odds.
You bet the farm on it. Okay, yeah. So I mean. I was hoping, but then when he started getting all that offense on Lesnar, I was like, well, it's pretty much set in stone. Balor's going to lose, but the match was okay. I was disappointed that Lesnar then came out, gave him more suplexes and then F5'd him extra, which was pointless.
There was a point.
We got to see an F5. That's
Yeah.
the point.
Well, yeah, but
Everybody wants to see the F5.
yeah, but I didn't see a point after the match was over.
I did. Because you didn't see it in the match.
It also shows you that Brock Lesnar does what Brock Lesnar wants to do.
That is true.
I mean, the biggest surprise to me in this one was the fact that Balor tapped. Not that he wouldn't tap to Brock, but usually you see a Brock smash match. He's going to go out there. He's going to F5 you, whether it be 3-4 times or anything like that. But this was right after the coup de grace, the 1-2 kick out into the submission and tap. I was surprised at that. Good finish, good short match. It did what it was supposed to do. Balor looked good. Brock looks dominant. And then he came out after the match and showed everybody why you came. And you got to see the F5.
I love this match. Like, honestly, I thought this was significantly better than AJ Bryan. And the reason is that it surprised my expectations. I expected Brock to just do what he normally does, destroy Balor from the beginning. Balor gets a weak comeback, hits the finisher, and then he, F5. Instead, Balor kind of jumped him. Like, it was fun. It was great. He worked a body part you almost never see. You never see somebody work the midsection, kind of playing off his diverticulitis, I think it was.
Diverticulitis. Right?
Yeah, I'm assuming that's what they were going for. That's at least the way I interpret it.
I'm sure that that's what they were trying to do. But to me, it looked like the angle that he hit on the announcer's desk, it really kind of looked like he racked himself a couple times. Yeah. And then it looked like when he went to the kicks, one of them went a little low. And, anybody's vulnerable there. Even the big man, Brock Lesnar. An animal has to be able to walk, and you can't walk if you're hurting.
I mean, even that suplex, right? He tried to do the German suplex twice and couldn't do it, which I thought was a really cool spot. Like, I enjoyed this. When Finn went up for the coup de grace, just for like a split second, I was like, is he really going to do this? And then what a perfect finish. He didn't finish him with suplexes. He just finished him with a Kimura. It's absolutely great. Brock Lesnar continues to be booked like the in-game boss. And then after the fact, he just continues to attack Finn for no good reason, meaning that now you're even more invested in seeing the guy who beats him, someone you want to see topple him, which will play into the main event. Well done. That's how a heavyweight fight should look. He knocked you out in the round one. You almost had a chance, but he's still Brock Lesnar and you're not.
100% agree. The one thing that was so interesting to me was the finish, because he went for the coup de grace, kick out at 2, immediately puts the Kimura on, and then, tap. And it was like, oh, so like you had the climax, but like it was a climax on top of it. And I thought that was really cool. The match itself was 8 minutes long, and it was a solid 8 minutes. It was from the start to the finish. It was really good. And that's one of the things I think that kudos to Brock Lesnar, for being able to put that on. Kudos to Finn for what he was able to do. Actually, this might be like low-key match of the night for me. Like, I think like it might be, because taking a look at the other matches, this one, start to finish, was probably the best match. Not best match of the weekend. Probably doesn't hold a candle to any of the NXT ones, but this might be my favorite match of the night.
Including the Rumbles?
The thing is with the Rumbles are different, right? Because even though they're technically a match, you have 30 participants, and so it's slightly different. But I mean, the normal matches, this is my favorite match of the night.
All right. So the next we had was the men's Royal Rumble. So this is the first one I've seen of the men's. And I thought the way they set it up at first, I didn't think Elias was going to come out first, but of course he was. But I think the surprise for me was number 2, Jeff Jarrett. I thought that was hilarious, that back and forth they had, because that's one that they never addressed ever. So I was very happy on how that turned out. Overall, the match, the pacing itself, I thought was in really good shape. I thought they did an excellent job of that. I really can't complain that much, actually, for the match, except when something happened. But my biggest shock still was when Johnny Wrestling came out. I had no idea he was going to come out. Like, that was the one, I was like, no, he won't come out. I figured Ricochet would. So when he came out, it was like, oh, shnikes. So, and then at one point, it was just filled with NXT guys and Mustafa Ali. That was it. It was just no, like, only WWE guys. So I thought that was kind of cool, because you're like, wow, just a few years ago, these guys were, doing 5 matches a night, and now they're in the Royal Rumble. So kudos to those guys. But overall, I wasn't happy. I was happy who won, but it wasn't my guy. But I thought the way they got to it was the proper way. Doug, I know you picked The Rock, and I actually started videotaping you because of something that happened, because I thought, oh crap, The Rock is going to come out. But were you a little disappointed when it wasn't The Rock or Batista or Drew McIntyre?
My pick has still not been eliminated. I'm just gonna go with that. No, I'm not disappointed. In fact, I'm actually a little happy in this aspect of give the roster that you have a chance. I've never been a big fan of the people that come and go and just do the one little thing. If you want your roster to improve and you want your roster to be the next big thing, then you need to push your roster as the next big thing. I do want to see The Rock versus Brock. I know that that's not probably going to happen. Brock Lesnar is fine as a spot every once in a while. I'm not happy with him having the title. This match for me, overall, great match. Some surprises, the thing that I think I just dislike the most is I would rather see people have a chance at winning or getting over or improving instead of seeing Titus O'Neil come in and chase Hawkins over. And then, I mean, you count this as a win for Hawkins a little bit because he actually got to eliminate somebody.
Kurt Hawkins, that's your biggest win of the year.
Right. And it's kind of sad to say that if I would have picked Kurt Hawkins, I would have had a better chance of winning the Royal Rumble than my actual pick. But it was several of them. No Way Jose, instantly in, instantly out. What's the point? And I don't know if you're trying to break the record every year, but it seemed like there was at least 3 or 4 or even 5 guys that didn't even last 10 seconds in the Rumble. And I think that those are spots that should go to other people. There's other people we didn't even get to see in the Royal Rumble. EC3, he's gotten called up, doesn't show up in the Rumble. Other people that just need a chance, need to get over, need to even just show a little bit of strength of being in the Royal Rumble for a little bit. Yeah, they're not going to win, but be in it for a little bit and build up your character and build up a feud to have something to go on to the next Monday Night Raw or something like that.
Were you upset that Velveteen Dream did not show up?
A little bit. I mean, out of the NXT people that were there, you had Gargano, you had Black,
and Dunn.
I mean, there's still more people even on NXT that still could have used those minutes to get over, whether it be Velveteen Dream, Ricochet, Adam Cole, baby. It seemed like a waste of a spot.
Well, the Noah Jose in particular was a super huge waste. I would agree. Yeah.
But it even seemed like a couple other ones that just, I mean, wasn't necessarily Apollo Crews. Well, he actually got to do some things, and I don't even know. He might have gotten an elimination even too.
They have him down as none right now.
Okay.
But.
Well, he was close to getting some eliminations. I mean, but there was a lot of people that just, I mean, thank you for trying, but don't try. Either give them a push or don't. And that'll always be my complaint. But I guess I wasn't really even impressed with the Kofi saves. The Xavier one a little bit. If that would have been just the one where if he would have came out, caught his one foot, and then put him on his back and moved him out there, that'd been great. But he got 2 this year, and neither of them were really that impressive, especially knowing that we saw in the women's, we got to see the same thing.
A much better one. I would say Naomi's spot was significantly more impressive, and it was very well done in the conclusion, like Mandy Rose being a complete jerk after Naomi did all of that work, nearly falling down, making the jump, landing the stairs, and then just Rose you're out. It's perfect. That's how you build a heel. That's how you continue a feud. That's a good elimination spot. Kofi's was kind of meh.
Now, I will say this, and that is, even though that is a lot of negative that I just put out there, I still enjoyed the match. I still enjoyed this immensely. The Ray Almas still going at it. A lot of the storylines still going at it. Pete Dunne, Aleister Black was impressive. Drew McIntyre, Aleister Black. I'm ready to see that match when it eventually happens. There was a lot of good positives in this match. I just think it would have been that much better if you would have had real contestants in it instead of a couple of the throwaways. And if you're going to have throwaways, have the legends come back like the Godfather did in 13. you do it to a legend like that. Jeff Jarrett's spot was perfectly fine with me. I would rather see a legend come back and be like, yay, a legend. Oh, he's gone. Yay, he's gone. But I got to see him instead of seeing No Way Jose.
Yeah, and I think, talking about the pacing, the final 10 slots, for the most part, there's only really 2 that stuck out to me that kind of didn't really need to be there. One, I hate to say, is Dolph Ziggler. He came out at number 28, and that was such a surprise, and not because I don't even hate Dolph, but I just feel like he is such a throwaway that he's somebody that you can either put at number 1 or number 2, or you don't have him in the Rumble at all. He's the person, he is the Shawn Michaels, right? He goes the distance. He doesn't need to be 28.
Never again compare Dolph Ziggler to Shawn Michaels.
He was one. And then also, I would say that Baron Corbin, when he came out, I actually thought he should have come out earlier because him and Elias had a feud going on. So a small continuation of that. He could throw Elias out when Elias is tired, and that can continue the feud. Minor nitpicks. I think one of the biggest surprises too, of course, with the NXT people, as you had mentioned with Johnny Gargano at number 30, it was supposed to be R-Truth, who got attacked by Nia Jax. And that was a real big shock, because then I thought that I kind of was looking at Doug, because Doug had picked The Rock. And part of me thought, wait a second, they're cousins. Are they going to do something stupid where, even though she's a heel, she's helping out her cousin, maybe they're going that route, or maybe even Roman Reigns, who knows? But then she came out and she joined the men's Royal Rumble. So she was in 2 Royal Rumbles in the same night, which was kind of fascinating to me. The ending of the match itself was also really good. I picked Seth Rollins to win. He was in the final 2 with Rogers picked Braun Strowman, and Rollins got him out, with a little bit of a shock, but everybody left very happy. And I think that was one of the things that, when you look at the Rumble matches in previous years, I hate to say it, but there were times where people got booed. People weren't happy with the winners. And this night, we were happy with both winners. Last Royal Rumble, we were happy with both winners. Kudos to WWE for putting on a really good show.
Yeah, I mean, I think we've crapped on the Rumbles many times, and this isn't going to be one of those years. Like, kudos to them for doing a great job, like you said. Really, I don't even mind the comedy spots. Yeah, I would have preferred Legends instead. Like, look, if you do Tatanka instead of No Way Jose, and he comes out and everyone's happy to see him and gets tossed immediately, cool. Don't mind the comedy spots. They served a purpose for making some of the more dominant monsters, Samoa Joe, McIntyre, guys like that. Another elimination save, Katie Catanzaro. That was fantastic. Mm-hmm. That may have been the save of the night. That was great. Really, the one that stuck out to me as bad was Dolph Ziggler. He served no purpose. He wasn't a good comedy spot. He's not a real threat. He has been doing a terrible Shawn Michaels impersonation for 15 years. I'd rather watch old man Shawn Michaels at this point than never was Shawn Michaels. Like, that is what I see Dolph Ziggler as. His super kick isn't super. He just kicks. Like, he's boring. Like, I'm just sorry. I've seen the same Ziggler story arc 15 times by now. Go away. Just don't come back. Velveteen Dream should have been in this match. Like, he didn't have pretty much anything to do with TakeOver, so he really should have been in the Rumble. I liked the finish. I thought Rollins winning is the right move. I was happy I was wrong, which is a weird thing to say, but I don't want Strowman Lesnar. That match sucks. Rollins being the guy to potentially dethrone Lesnar, that's awesome. Like, that is a moment that people will cheer. It'll make people happy. I thought it was a good Rumble. I liked the pacing. Angle coming out early. Man, you suck got a really loud chant. Like, I just thought they did a better job maybe than the women did at the start of keeping you interested and invested, because there was a lot of people that came out. Gargano coming out was a huge surprise. We popped really loud. Yeah, I mean, I think if you take away Ziggler and you put in somebody from NXT, I think this was a nearly perfect Rumble. I even really like Nia Jax being in there just because it was something so unique and unexpected. Like, I had no idea she was going to be in this Rumble. I was surprised when she attacked R-Truth. I thought the pop when Orton and her had a stare down was hilarious when she finally got RKO'd. Like, it was weird to see the men selling for her, but I think it was a good thing. Like, it just made her look even more dominant. Like, I don't know. I had no problems with this Rumble. The only thing, my only problem was Dolph Ziggler, like it is most times I see Dolph Ziggler on screen.
The other thing also, I'm just happy because we actually got to go and see the Rumble. It was a really, really neat thing to see.
And so, Roger, you said your only disappointment with Dolph Ziggler, correct?
Oh, okay. It was my second biggest disappointment.
And your first biggest disappointment?
He who shall not be named, unfortunately, entered the Rumble.
No, I thought you were happy because I thought we cheered right afterwards because he was in there for like 10 seconds.
I mean, I cheered when he got tossed.
Officially, he was in there for 38 seconds, but realistically, he was in there for like 2 seconds.
Okay. But and something we found out also, so yeah, Royal Rumble, if you ever get a chance, definitely check it out. Oh, two exciting things happened, by the way. Did not realize this. One, we got our seats. That was not planned at all. So we actually got chairs. Still a little shocked about that. And number 2, so during the Super Bowl, they're bringing back halftime heat. So they're at an NXT TakeOver at the very end. It was a dark match, but it was on YouTube and a WWE.com exclusive. We had Cole, Ricochet, Black, Gargano, Ciampa, and Dream come out and get into this little mini brawl. Well, they're actually going to have that match during the Super Bowl. So Maroon 5, you get to now switch to that. And since Roger's going to be at the Super Bowl,
I will be watching on my phone because I have no interest in Maroon 5. In between the Rams' domination of the Patriots, I plan on watching halftime heat. And I think it'll be, look, those 6 might be the 6, and we said this last night, those might be the 6 best performers in NXT right now. They're going to be in a 6-man tag match. That's going to be really good.
And so I think was it 22 minutes or something like that is how halftime is. So they're going to get pretty much, we'll just say 20 minutes in a match. They're going to jam a lot of stuff in there. So it's going to be, I think it's going to be pretty fast paced, but I'm looking forward to that actually, to watch it on the network. And I think also on YouTube. So kudos to WWE for doing that. I just want to say, I thought that the way they set everything up tonight, comparing it to WrestleMania, we got to our seats fast. Like that was the one thing. We got down to the floor extremely fast, and then we were like, oh, well, we have to kill sometimes. So the nice part is also it's open enough so you could walk around. So we went by like where the entrance was. We also went to that was the outfield, right, that we were at. So we actually got to be on the sport turf, which I thought was kind of neat just to feel it and stuff. So and we got our picture taken up there. So I mean, there's a lot of positive things. They did a much better job than what they did in Dallas. So kudos for everyone at the Chase Field for putting on that great show.
Pretty sure Cowboys fans are used to everybody else doing a much better job anyway.
So yes. Also, hey, tip anyone who works at Chase Field, whatever your water order is, triple it, because I was thirsty and there was no water fountains.
Well, and same goes for the burger too, because that was unavailable, and I went up there during the pre-show, so I was up there I think 4:20ish.
No,
and
like 3. By the time you texted us at 4, it was already gone.
Yeah, I mean, I guess I could check, but I mean, it was gone quickly, very quickly, and that kind of says something. So the Barbra Streisand was in effect. Daniel Bryan told people not to buy it, and everyone bought it.
Well, I think that'd be even funnier if they kind of just pushed the angle of Daniel Bryan actually got rid of all of the ones so that people couldn't eat it. That would be a great thing. And that's the only way I will accept the fact that they did not have enough. I mean, that's just poor planning to run out of stuff, and whether it be food, whether it be water or anything like that, that's just poor planning on the stadium itself.
Well, the other thing also, so when I was going through, I walked almost, I'd say 3/4 of the way around. There was almost no beer left as well. They had fountain drinks. That was it. And I was so ticked about that. But that's a small thing. I think they're going to learn from this, and I think WWE will as well, because they'll say, "Hey, you had, we'll say 50,000 units of water, and we went through it. You should probably have 80, 90." That's something also.
In their defense, as Elias said, not like they're used to this many people here. So
Oh my gosh, that was so funny. Oh man.
He does a really good job of interacting with the local team. Like usually the cheap comments are throwaways, but as we said in Seattle, he knows how to hit just the right nerve and really irritate the crowd. I will say actually my biggest criticism of this was I wish the entrance was a little bit more visible to everyone, because even though we had really good seats, well, I should say really expensive seats, you couldn't see enough. Like that was just the problem, right? Like we would hear cheers, but you couldn't see anything from the entrance because we were flat, which is fine. But I mean, outside of the section right by the entrance, because it was kind of from the dugout, it was like you just had to wait until the Titantron popped it up, which I was like, I don't know. There's something to like, especially like last night with TakeOver. There's an entrance ramp. You can see who's coming down. Like it just felt like you were blind up until they got to the ring. And like when the thing is like when Nia attacked him, we had no idea what's going on. We had to wait till it popped up. So that to me, I thought could have been planned better. Maybe there's nothing you can do. I would have had them come out from the outfield. I thought the idea of them coming from the bullpen was a really cool idea. Have them, do the ramp through the outfield and come down to the. I would have preferred it that way. I think that's the way they did it in Safeco. But I mean, minor criticism for what I thought was a surprisingly good show.
Yeah, I was really excited I mean, there's a lot of good moments. It was great. We took a lot of pictures and were able to hang out and watch a good show. So I was very happy about it. I'm really excited about the chair. That was a happy thing. I was like, we get to keep the chair. I don't have any of these. And Doug's like, I got a couple of them.
It was a very, very pleasant surprise. I thought we were one section out of what was going to be considered the chair thing.
Yeah.
So to go in there not thinking we were going to get one, to actually be able to, like, oh no, I have a problem now. I've got to get this back on my flight home, or mail it to myself. That was pretty interesting. One of the things
Talk about the fight that broke out in the crowd.
no, I wasn't going to talk about that. That's just silly. And that was during the women's match. So if you see the crowd reacting to something, that was two drunk people fighting over who knows what. It was very, very funny when security actually showed up. Then they were kind of asking what happened. I'm pretty sure the one guy who started punching himself in the head. Right. I think he was, yeah, and that didn't end well for him. So
You might hear a throw him out chant. It's quite funny.
but I mean, the seats themselves, they are what they are. You are sitting so far back and everything like that, and you get lucky. You don't have somebody big in front of me. I mean, I feel bad for the people that had to sit behind me. I'm a big guy, and but overall, good experience, good match. I want to see what happens.
Yeah, I think the next few shows with Raw and SmackDown, I think they'll be very entertaining. And of course, Sunday is going to be very entertaining as well. What happens during halftime heat, which I mean, there's a lot of cool positive things that are happening. So kudos for WWE for doing a good show, and I think they've learned a lot from this one, opposed that's happened at other shows, especially with something simple as like water and beer of all things. But
I guess I have a question for all of you. I want to say a month ago, we saw the McMahons come back and say, we're going to change things and start listening to the fans. For the most part, the show hasn't really been the change, except for tonight. Like, is this the beginning of the change? Do you think that this is maybe because fan favorites won? Like, for the most part, the people that you wanted to see won, as opposed to, if this was done last year, it's not Becky who's winning and it's not Rollins who's winning. So do you think that maybe they're deciding to go with we're just going to go with the people who get cheered the most?
I think they had some storylines in effect, and you think about like Daniel Bryan, who he's a heel, and I mean, we like him, so like that match, it's whatever. But there's a storyline going there. You think about what happened with Lesnar and Finn. There's a storyline that's going to happen there, even though they're going to split off and go their separate paths. And with the Rumble, you had two fan favorites win. So, realistically, I think maybe there's a little bit. I think with Becky in particular, that's definitely listening to the fans. Roman's not there. They need to have somebody else that can help carry the company. And I think they see Rollins as that person. We had Rollins versus Lesnar at, I think it was a Summer's Battleground, a few years ago. Obviously, the triple threat with him and Roman when he cashed in the Money in the Bank, which became a triple threat. He had a triple threat with him with Cena at a Royal Rumble a couple of years ago as well. So, he hasn't, this will be his first one-on-one in like 2-3 years. And as I had mentioned about, AJ and Brian 4 times, in a couple of months, this is going to be his second time in like 3 years. And so that's good. That's a fresh story. That's going to be something that's going to be new and interesting. And it's a different Rollins. I think that's the other thing. That was a younger, little immature Rollins. This one is a fan favorite. This is somebody who the people are going to be behind. And that match, I think, could be fantastic. And people aren't going to crap on it. We look at last year's WrestleMania, and people were booing the crap out of that match. They were just going out of their way to tell people how terrible this was going to be. And it wasn't a good match. It was not their WrestleMania 31 match at all. It was way worse. And I think that this is going to be different. I think that we're going to go into WrestleMania actually excited for the main event, which is something that I haven't been able to say. And that's assuming that one's the main event, because it might not be. There's a potential that it could be Becky and Ronda, or if they throw somebody else into the mix. So I think there's actually some exciting things. I will say, this is probably the most excited I've been for WrestleMania, maybe since Bryan, in WrestleMania 30. This might be the most excited I've been for one.
and that does say a lot, because they've had crappy ones, even the one we went to, when you think about it. So
to be fair, because everyone under the sun was hurt. Like, there's almost nothing they could have really done. Mm-hmm. Every other WrestleMania, no excuse. But 32, I'll give them a pass on. Their roster was depleted.
Okay. But yeah, so overall, I was I thought the show was great. Pacing was great. So thanks again, guys, for coming. And it was nice to get all four of us together in the same place. So, and Doug, thank you. And make sure you tell your sister thank you for letting us stay at the place. So anyway, so that's all the time we have for this special. If you're into the Twitter, you can follow the show at AltMark86. I want to thank 86 Productions for hosting and editing the podcast. And I want to thank all of our listeners for taking the time to download and listen to the show. And for Roger Cave, Doug Hahn, and Aaron Hughes, I am Andrew Hughes. And until next time, we'll see you in the ring.